Hello and welcome. This is not part of the, I guess, part of the restoration per se, but I had a viewer contact me, said he's repairing one or trying to restore one of these same radios, these Midwest units. And he's recapped it. He's checked a bunch of voltages, but it's just not working. And he doesn't have, I don't think he has anything but a voltmeter, DVOM, digital voltmeter. Now I've done in the past videos on how to troubleshoot these without test equipment. How to do some basic tests and checks to try to figure out where the problem is. And since he has one of these, I figured I'd see if I could make a short video or make a video to try to assist him so he can follow along perhaps. So I put this over here on the bench. Now this set, what are we going on? Almost 2 years I've been working on this. I got this front from Mike and Midwest Radio because mine had 2 holes bored in it here at the time. I figured I'd get this put on, I'll get the speaker over here, I'll turn it on, and I'll show him how to do some basic troubleshooting without having any test equipment other than eyes, ears, and what hand tools he may have on site or on hand. And I picked this thing up and I went to put it on the radio. Now this is held on with 4 screws in the corners. And you can see there's the 4 holes here. And I went to put a screw in this hole. This still has the molding on it. This has never, I guess that's in focus. That hole's never been opened up. It's like it's never had a screw in it. And I assumed when Mike sent me this that this was off of a set, had been harvested off of another radio that wasn't worth restoring. Now I'm wondering if this was actually a new old stock piece that he got his hands on somehow and was gracious enough to pass along to me. So Mike, if you're watching out there, let me know, was this a brand new old stock part? Now it shows some wear, and it's getting on 76 years old at this point. These came out in '49. So I'm wondering if he may have come across a supply of spare parts for these. Just curious. So anyway, I'm going to get this mounted. We'll get the speaker over here and we'll try to do show how to do some basic troubleshooting stuff. Let me get this mounted up and we'll take it from there. Okay, now that we have the bezel on here, I had this radio for almost 2 years and I've just noticed for the first time that this glass is curved. For some reason I just didn't notice that. It's not curved a lot, it's subtle, but this is actually curved. Something's microphonic in there. We'll deal with that later. Okay, now I do not know what condition your set is in, or the set that he's working on is in. And I don't know how familiar you are with it, and I don't know how much of it's intact. So while this may sound somewhat silly, I'm going to ask you to check some things here. First of all, this knob over here all the way on the right. This is the radio phono knob. Now this is a hot receiver. I'm on the AM band with no antenna. And it's slightly receiving a station. But you can hear how much background noise this set has. In the radio position, band B, that's the second click. If you went all the way counterclockwise in one click, band B is AM. These are just tone controls, don't worry about them. But if this is in the phono position, if you're missing, or the television position, you're not going to hear anything from this set. Absolute silence. And that's with the volume cranked all the way up, and I can just hear the barest of humming coming from the speaker, just residual. Yeah, wide open. I can barely hear a hum. But that's television, that's phono, absolutely nothing. If you're in the radio position on AM, you should have a lot of noise. If you don't, we'll move on to the next step in troubleshooting this. Let me get a schematic over here and stand this radio up on end. Okay, there's several subvariants of this receiver, and the information I'm working on at this point, you said it was the same one, but there's several that look similar, so it may not be this exact one, and there's going to be slight differences, but the procedures are going to remain the same. Now this one, you see how this is drawn here, the switch for the phono and television. This one's drawn differently. It's the same circuit, there's just some minor audio changes. This is our volume control. If you have the radio phono switch, okay, put it into, for this test, put it into the phono position or the TV position, doesn't matter which one at this point. And I'm going to go back here, see if I can do this easily. Okay, there's your volume control. Now, remember, you're playing with high voltages here, but that should be a relatively safe point if you've done your work correctly. Hear the hum? And I can control it. That would prove out the audio amplifier chain. That would tell you that everything from this point onwards, through the first amplifier, first audio amp, through the second audio amp, through the inverter, and into the power amplifiers, is okay. You've got 1-2 stages of amplification here, an inverter, because this is a push-pull circuit, so this swaps the signals on these two grids back and forth. I won't go into detail here, I've done many videos on that. And these are your power amplifiers. Now if you didn't have the hum when you touch the volume control, and from what I'm guessing you don't have any type of audio oscillator or anything to feed audio into the stages with. But let's start with the 7A4s, and I should have taken a look at where they are before I turn this around. Let me see if I have a tube layout so I don't have to keep swinging the radio back and forth. Alrighty, I think we're good to go here. Now I'm assuming you don't have an audio signal generator of some kind. All you need to do is throw out 10-15 feet of wire across the floor and either connect it to a probe or just use the piece of wire itself. It's not connected to anything, it's just going to be laying across the floor. We have all kinds of things in a modern home that make noise. Cell phone chargers, fluorescent lights, LED lights, power supplies in your TV, which are switching supplies. There's all kinds of stuff making all kinds of noise in your house that you're not aware of until you do something like this. This is just connected to a 20-foot piece of wire that I use for an antenna on AM radios when I don't have another antenna. Any random hunk of wire will do, and all it's going to do is inject noise. Now I'm assuming at this point you touched the volume control, you didn't get a buzz, and I'm still in the phono position at this point, just so that you're not listening to that racket. If yours is completely dead, leave it in the radio position for now. But because this set is working, it's, you know, going to have a ton of background noise. Now I'm going to work my way up. Let's assume that you went to the volume control directly here and you didn't hear anything. So I'm going to go down here. I'm going to go a couple stages down to this tube. And this is the second audio. Now this is a 7A4 and the grid is on pin number 6. And the 7A4 is right here. Coming from the bottom where the power transformers the set is, we go up and to the inner tube, because I just labeled it here, that's that 7A4 second audio amp, and I'm just going to touch the grid of that tube on pin 6. You hear that? That tells me that stage is working. It tells me that stage is working, as well as the inverters and the power amplifier tubes. So if it was dead here and you got a signal here, I'd say probably that tube is bad or you've miswired something there. If you don't have anything here, go to the grids of the power amplifiers themselves. Now the control grid on this is again pin 6 on those two tubes. So let me get some light in here and see if I can find pin 6. There's 3, 4, 5, 6. There we go. Okay, I'm hearing sound coming out of the speaker, so I know that grid is working. You're not going to get a lot of amplification here. These are power amps. They're not real sensitive. But I don't know if you can hear that. So that stage is working. You just do this stage by stage by stage. If everything in the audio section is working, and again this is going to be tough because this set's functional. I'm going to turn the volume down here. Let's say for example you work your way up through the different stages and you've got an RF amplifier in the front. That's tube number 4, and I'm assuming you're on the AM position at this point. So that would be the RF amp, and let's see if I can find that. RF amp right here, 7A7 tube number 4. So coming up from the rectifier, well, I just get near the antenna and things start, that's how sensitive that set is. Where was I? I lost my train of thought. I went right off the track here. Okay, it's the first tube just above the rectifier. There's our rectifier. It's going to be, that's our RF amplifier right there. And we'll take a look at the grid is on, again, pin 6. So 3, 4, there's pin 6. Now, you're hearing a radio signal because this set's functional, but there's also hum on the signal. So if you get hum there, that tells you that the RF amp is working. Whoops. We'll go to the converter stage next. In fact, that may be where your problem is in the converter stage. This is a converter and your oscillator as well. And the grid, control grid on that is going to be again pin 6. So the converter pin tube number 5, next tube up. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And you're hearing the radio station, but if the oscillator's not running, what you'll get here is you may hear a radio station, or you just may hear a hum. Just work your way through the different stages is all you've got to do. How do you know if the local oscillator is running? Well, I've done this trick on several videos, but I'll do it again just so we're covering all our bases. And again, I'm assuming you don't have any test equipment other than the voltmeter you mentioned. Alrighty. Okay, here's another radio, another AM radio. And I'm just going to place it next to this set. And I'm going to turn it on. And tune off the station a little bit, and then I'm going to tune this set. You hear that? That's the local oscillator in here affecting that radio. So that tells me that the local oscillator in here is running. If you don't get that squeal, your local oscillator is not running. Maybe you have a bad converter tube. And that's really all that's involved. If you have some sort of signal generator, great. That's even all the better. You know, some of the stuff, if you're going to be doing this fairly often, look for a signal tracer. This you can go in and listen to the stages, stage by stage, and these can be had for $10 or $15. You'll just have to recap them. But this is one of the handiest little tools you can have for working on these. A simple audio oscillator, like this Heathkit thing, that's handy to have. But you can do an awful lot with nothing but a simple voltmeter, something to generate some noise, and just go through stage by stage by stage and try to find where the signal disappears. If you have a signal here and you lose it here, it's somewhere in this section. Could be a bad tube, could be a bad connection, maybe you put a capacitor on a wrong lead by accident. It happens to the best of us. I hope that's helpful. I'll stick this up. I know it's not real thorough, but there's not you kind of have to know what you're doing. You kind of have to feel your way through there and look at it from just logically look at it. You're tracing a signal through the radio. It starts here at the antenna, goes through an amplifier, goes to the converter oscillator, goes to an IF amplifier. This one has 2 stages of IF amplification. Goes to a detector, first audio amp with the volume control. This one has a second audio amp. You don't always have that. Sometimes it just goes from here to a single output tube. But this radio is a push-pull output. So we have a second audio stage and we have an inverter and the 2 push-pull audio stages. This is a fairly expensive receiver. What did this cost in its day? This was $239 factory cash, which is about $3,000 in today's money. This was a high-end receiver in its day. That's about all I can give you without having seen the set and without getting my fingers in there and poking around. I hope you found this useful. Take your time, be patient. You should be able to track this down if you just go stage by stage by stage. Okay? I'm the radio mechanic. Take care. See you all later. Bye.